Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the information session regarding the Estonian National Museum's International Residency. We're still testing things, so hope we're all well and audible. My name is Tanel. I'm the Communications Director of the Estonian National Museum.
Hi, I am Pihle. I'm Head of Research and Development.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Maris. I'm Head of Exhibitions and Program.
So how this is going to work is as follows. The structure, let me see. Okay, the structure of the session follows this. So essentially, we're going to cover the updated timeline, first of all. Secondly, we're going to talk about what the Estonian National Museum is, give you a quick rundown of it, what the offering of the residence is, then talk a bit about the collection, the more philosophical viewpoint on archival practices and the logistics of the residency process in and of itself. And at the end of this all, you will have the opportunity to ask your questions and we'll answer them. In the instance in which we have too many questions, we will obviously collect all of them and answer them after the session ends, in case we do not have enough time to do it within the session itself. We're also recording this, so that this will be published later down the line. So first, on the updated timeline, presumably most of you already know that due to the fact that we had a change in our exhibition schedule, we were, kind of forced to also move the residency timeline to keep it a strict 6-month period. So now the application deadline is the 31st of March, 2026, so in 2 weeks pretty much. And we're going to confirm the residence on the 29th of May. So we're going to have like a 2-month period to evaluate all of the residents that you apply. The residency period then goes from September 2026 to February 2027, starting with the research process and culminating with the launch of the exhibition on the 24th of February, which happens to be the National Independence Day of Estonia. And obviously the co-creation periods that were already previously highlighted up here, Maurice will expand on those later down the line. And the exhibition then will be open for 6 months up to 19th of September 2027. Hope that is clear. If any questions, do put those in the chat or in the Q&A forum and we'll answer those. Okay, so when it comes to the museum, and just to give you a quick rundown of it, kind of a slogan we've started toying around with recently is this idea of the beauty of everyday life. So if you look at the Estonian National Museum, its base is not a classic history museum, it's an ethnographic and ethnological-based culture museum, meaning that we kind of more look into the details and livings of everyday people, and particularly those who have lived in Estonia over the breadth of history. This year, we're also celebrating 2 things. Firstly, that we're turning 117 years old, so the museum is quite has a substantial age to it. And secondly, that we've been in our new building for the last 10 years. This is in regards to our own campaign of RMX, as we call it, where we do a lot of experimental stuff this year. For example, we're also launching a youth council. This residency is a part of it, and so forth. The museum itself is located in Tartu, which is a city in southern Estonia. It is the second biggest city in the country, and it is primarily known to be a university city. So the University of Tartu, hailed as the greatest university in Estonia and quite reputable on an international level as well. We host a lot of students here, tens of thousands. We're very strong in the humanities and a lot of other fields as well. And Tartu is a wonderful place. If you've never been, it's like citizen-friendly or user-friendly, if you like to call it that. Has a lot of stuff to see. The museum itself, so the Estonian National Museum, located in the Radi district of Tartu, we average around 175,000 visitors per year. By questionnaires and like surveys with the most popular museum in the country. So when people are asked what museums do you know, the Estonian National Museum kind of seems to pop up the most. And we're quite a big museum as well, insofar as we have 150 people approximately working across different disciplines and different departments. Those so a few pictures as well. It's a beautiful building constructed in 2016. Beautiful outside areas. It's big, so the exhibition spaces as well. Yeah. So about the activities we do, we obviously do exhibitions as any museum would do, but we have a lot, and collections, but we also have a very large focus on conservation efforts, research, education, events, publishing, conferences, and community building from a wide variety of areas. A few highlights of the past few years, for example, include hosting the solo exhibition by OJ Gera, a massive exhibition we just launched 1 year ago, the Estonian Swedes one, which was very, very high intensity research, or our exhibition on surrealism that was, I think, 2 years or 3 years ago. So it kind of spans a lot of disciplines in a lot of areas. So we're not particularly focused on any given field in the endeavors that we take upon ourselves. Now, what this residency offers, and just to be quite clear on this from the beginning, is that firstly, as you all know, the stipend of 10,000 euros per resident, but secondly, also accommodation and transport expenses that apply for the co-location periods and also for the exhibition setup periods. And for the exhibition itself, you will have a production budget and quite a large-scale production team who will help you and assist you and devise all of the beautiful things that you want to realize. There's also a 6-month show period with all the bells and whistles, meaning the communications and marketing efforts will be done by the museum of a 5-person team. We will host tours. We will do all of the regular things that carry on with an exhibition that will contribute to your own publicity, and you also have the ability to partake in those efforts yourself. Now, the collection of the Estonian National Museum, particularly the photographic collection, is quite substantive. It hosts more than 400,000 images from the mid-19th century to the present day. It began in 1910 as a project of cultural preservation. But as time has gone on, the collection has grown in many dimensions after that through contributions from researchers, professional photographers, amateur photographers. Collections have come in from a variety of different places, and it continues to grow. And it's an active collection that is being built to this day. So it is quite substantive. It is important to understand that different logics thus have constructed this archive, and that in particular is what is worth researching. So different answers to the question of why to photograph to begin with, or how has this collection been assessed as well. So for example, we have press photographers during the Soviet Union, or we have village photographers, and a lot of material from expeditions themselves, i.e. ethnographers and ethnologists who have contributed massively to this collection that we are then opening up for researchers. So a few examples, just to give you a glimpse, right? So we're not going to obviously go through and say that, we have a rundown of the best of what is in this 400,000 unit collection, but you can see a variety of different things, right? So for example, the image from Kihno on the left from 1894, or the image on the right that's from 1923. Ilmari Manninen, for example, was a very important figure for the Estonian National Museum as well. So a lot of material, well, not all, but a substantial part of the material has been collected through the idea that we've sent ethnographers and ethnologists out to capture life, and that has then formed a certain part of the collection in and of itself. Secondly, though, we've got the collections of from a variety of different places as well. For example, village photographers, for example, who documented the everyday life of their communities. So from these 2 pictures, for example, you can see the right one is more of like an impromptu moment that was captured by Anton Priimägi, and on the left you see something more akin to a studio section, if you will. Moreover, though, the photography collection doesn't just span what individuals did or particular habits of those, but also like the transformation of urban spaces, the transformation of how social life in and of itself operates, as you can see from the pictures from this collection, right? The important thing to understand, though, is that, is that there's a variety of different approaches that individuals can obviously take in terms of trying to understand this collection, and we propose no single way of doing this, right? So this is all up to the individuals, up to the researchers themselves. The important thing, I guess, that is probably on everyone's mind in this instance is how do you access it, right? And the Estonian Heritage Board, in collaboration the Estonian Heritage Portal. We have essentially a thing called the Museum's Public Portal, or like what we call in Estonian MUIS. So this will be the main instrument for all researchers during the remote phases. During the co-location periods, you will obviously have access to the physical material as well, collaborating closely with our collections department. This very same overview that we talked about is available on our website as well. I will link this to the chat. So that outlines in quite great detail a variety of different collections, the size and scope of those collections, where they were collected, the time periods, and so forth. That will help you navigate further when creating your application or conducting your research proposal on what to explore. We also have a guide on how to use the museum's public portal online. But the quick gist of it is as follows. So when you go to MUIS, you choose detailed search. I will have a screenshot to show you in a second. You take Eesti Rahva Museum as the museum field. And if you, for example, want to explore the entire collection, you enter the collection code FK into the KT number field. If you want to search by number, you enter the name in the person field and enter the same FK in the KT number field. And you can also search by subject by entering different keywords in the subject field. So this is how the portal essentially looks like. The detailed guide will be made accessible to you through the website. That is to say, it's already there, and you can use that to investigate the collection for yourself. Check. Yeah. So this is a quick rundown of what the collection currently entails. You can go more deeper into that through the website. We'll link that to the chat, and also how to explore MUIS. And any questions you might have or any confusion, just either put this in the chat or send us an email, and we'll help you figure things out as we go along. Now, Ila.
Is it my turn? Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm having here a weird broadcasting experience because we don't see any of you, and usually when I'm online meetings, I see at least someone. So broadcasting and television is not my toolbox. On the contrary, actually, I'm here because we as the research department are more dealing with this kind of participatory museum approaches and collaborative approaches and trying to address communities and museology research. And why I am sitting here is actually because I proposed opening up the collection for this exhibition through residencies rather than just hiring kind of outside either curators or invited artists or so on. So I have to eat now what I invited. And Thursday, I would like to thank you very much that you consider or already apply for the residency or consider doing it. I'm really happy that it has been kind of bringing in international interest, not to make it somehow more important, but because of this opportunity or possibility to bring in the different views than compared to the case when we had just opened it up for our national researchers, artists, curators, and so on and so on. And I'm here a little bit just without knowing any of your backgrounds right now, like what is kind of the right level of either in-depth or theoretical or practical insights, what I could get without knowing you. I just thought that I will talk about my perspective a little bit to the archive, to just stress some of the aspects which perhaps are not in our residency call, but which are nevertheless this context or the starting point. So I'm not archive scholar, I'm museum communication scholar, and we have recently worked with digital heritage. So archive is something we have to look into. And I think that the first thing I wanted to point out is that here with this residency, we are moving from this kind of archives as source to archives as subject. Like usually we think about archives or the museum collections as kind of sources for different disciplines, for exploring topics, where archive potentially can contribute like advanced knowledge or inform or be a source of inspiration. In the case of this creative residency, archive is the subject. And kind of by proposing these different approaches and angles of the prospective collaborators, we were not so much thinking about the diversity in the exhibition as an output, but about different possible angles to address the archive with, to engage with the archive and to read the archive. So it's not about getting as diverse exhibition as possible, but as diverse engagements as possible. What is the archive in the context of this residency call? I think that just a very mundane definition would be that we see archive as both these documents and records and the photographs which are in the archive, which is kind of information about the past. But it is also the repository itself, the archive with maybe capital A, where these records are kept. And these both are important, not just the contents, but archive as a repository, as a kind of whole. And I think that it is not a very novel approach, because for the last decades, the archives have become the focus of much of this kind of critical scholarship, for example, but also other critical engagements. And I think that since the end of 80s, this interest maybe started in reading archives in different ways. And it has developed across different disciplines, so anthropology and ethnology here, or museology. And history, but very much also, and even more and more, these artistic practices or kind of this practice-based studies. And I think it can be altogether be called an archival term, where even renowned philosophers such as Foucault or Derrida, we will not be speaking about them. Just this is just a name dropping that even renowned philosophers kind of included thinking about archives into their work. And we have started as a society kind of considering the nature of exhibiting archives in relation to art and questioning their only documentary status. And this is why we also call the residency, not a scholarly kind of scholarship to come and study and then curators to realize it. Now we wanted it to be this kind of artistic and practice-based residency. And since 2000, since this century, scholarship, which includes this postmodern thinking, has questioned all these old established ways of understanding archives. So archives have been questioned as passive and neutral, and positioned or repositioned as being active within society and bound up in structures of power. I guess there is something, yes, there is another slide to keep your eyes on it. And thus a lot of studies and interpretations which recognize archives as both kind of tools in marginalization and liberation, for example. And in any case, it's not just possible to engage with archives by describing their contents, to displaying and selecting their contents, but through some kind of active interpretation and even a lived experience, maybe. So, well, for me, I'm looking at my notes. I noted down that this means that exhibiting the archive, also the audiences are important, because they get to read the archive through the exhibition. So the exhibition is a kind of mediation also. And exhibitions, I imagine, but I don't know what is the result. They shouldn't be this kind of authoritative space, but a kind of space of encounters and dialogue and conversations and engagements of both these authors, you, the future you, and museum and the visitors with their diverse needs and interests and expectations. So exhibition about archive has potential to turn this, what is in our real life here in this very building, as a kind of depository into a kind of social space, where it becomes hopefully more accessible and more meaningful and more relevant to people, not only in terms of this artistic exploration, but also for people. And kind of a third aspect from my side is this digital archive, because we have got questions and imagined questions, which includes that whether the residents can come and browse the archives. And as Tanel already said, that the most kind of the primary access point is actually the museum information system online. And this means that one of the dimensions of this work or this experiment is mediatization of heritage, like the photographic archive as a digital archive to engage with. So the photographic medium itself has gone many technological changes, and I'm no expert with those, but I can imagine our collections reach from glass negatives to first digital photos coming in. But I think that with digitalization, it has added a completely new layer. And brought kind of a new system of relations and processes. And I think that on top of this kind of exploring the archive context, this is also an important dimension of exploration. So our photographic archive, which has been digitized and merged into this information system, has also become a digital heritage. And digital heritage is not a digital copy of the earlier paper archive, although in this very, very daily maintenance work, we in the museums sometimes like to think of that. But this kind of fundamental change, new context shift is important. And I hope that the future residents are able to kind of either address this or that it is just that they kind of see or notice this shift. So by digitizing it became a part of this kind of a new repository, a new system, and a new arrangement where this kind of technological and digital infrastructure also kind of the technological affordances also impact, like what is visible, what is accessible, what remains unnoticed. It changes the relations between objects and also us. And it creates some new connections probably and breaks down old ones. And one of the examples I thought I will bring, what are these old ones, specifically in our museums, which are kind of, from my point of view, missing in this information system, is that while much of the photography has been collected as a single media, like many photos were produced by also by the museum itself throughout the decades, like they might be results of some research projects, and they were kind of results of long field work trips, like 20th century research approach in the museums, which means that this kind of photos are actually embedded in other types of with other types of artifacts. For example, museum objects or fieldwork diaries and ethnographic reports and even film. But these connections are not anymore evident in this kind of digital information system. They need this kind of expert knowledge sharing. So many links of between knowledge can be thus remade only by this kind of in-depth research. And this is actually kind of why we limited this call to working with the photographs as a kind of separate archive, kind of by trying to foreground the concept of archive again. Like photos have been brought to new relations between this type of museum objects only. And I think that digitization has shaped the photo collections in new ways, not in terms of management and only, but certainly in times of this kind of knowledge system. And so you will engage with digital practices, and this will be both exercises of creativity, but I'm quite sure that they will be also kind of exercises of overcoming different barriers and challenges. But I hope that you can understand or think of it not as a barrier for your real work, but barrier as kind of a friction as part of this creative practice. This is what digitization also makes. And they should sum up to go further, otherwise we will have no time for Q&A. So I want to just point from my side that it will be a learning process addressing this archive for the museum itself. And my take is that this process or this experiment in the form of residency has not to be just built in cooperation of the residents, but as my previous talk maybe hinted that it is kind of a wider collaboration with residents and the museum. And we still have to figure out how to do it best, that we are not just assisting you, but we are kind of part of the partnership, not the power, but the partnership, because we have to learn about both this the collaboration, upcoming collaboration, and the archive, the digitized archive itself. Thank you. I think I took a little bit more time than it was strictly necessary, but there are so many interesting aspects about it.
Hello once again. I think our part of the team that is producers and production can be only quite short at this point. But before I start, I think I want to stress that we would be hugely thankful to you if you keep in mind this fact that to be able to open an exhibition here at the end of February 2027, this needs to be a real joint effort and teamwork approach. That this is not, this will not be a solo exhibition. So please bear that in mind. And we are not a huge team over here, but we always have extra help for openings, and we are really excited. You are most probably all familiar with a very basic setup that we do have two cooperation periods in Tartu, and this participation is mandatory. It's end September, beginning October, the first one, and second one beginning November. And I cannot stress enough our suggestion and wish that residents should begin collaborating with the architects of exhibition immediately after the first cooperation period ends. This means sharing the ideas, themes, and directions that they have in mind. We very much want to engage an architect or a designer with international experience to the team. We have approached them, and this is all that I can share at the moment. We very much hope that the architect will be able to have, so to say, the big blocks of information or directions from you by the beginning of 2027. The installation period is roughly 4 weeks, and you are all welcome to join in at some point, but this is not mandatory. It depends very much on what the result of your research will be in the exhibition. We do have, of course, equipment inventory, which we can include. And like I said, we are very excited.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. In this case, I'm gonna try and change the settings. So I previously thought that we're gonna do like Q&A in chat, but I'm gonna at least allow the cameras to be turned on. I think now works. I'm gonna post the links that I promised to the chat. So those are the 3 ones. But yeah, in terms of questions, we can do it in any form, but if you have you can raise your hand and I think I can unmute you here if you want to do it by voice, but it's also very much fine through the chat if you wish to do so. Wait, okay, give me a second. Okay, I can allow the mic for this. Let's see. Is it? Okay, Linda, I allow the microphone for you, but you can also send it for chat if you do wish.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I am Linda Rotam from Tartu, just a little bit, just down the road from the National Museum. And I wanted to ask if there is also a wish, an expectation that there would be other kind of results and outlets for this exploration. For example, I don't know, scientific articles or popular scientific articles, or even some kind of traveling exhibition, or some kind of spaces set up outside of the National Museum building. Yeah.
I can start with scientific articles that this is not a requirement of the residency, which is not in the conditions. But as you can see that I have personally mentioned these creative practices and practice-based research. So I would be really happy if any of the participants, residents selected, would be able to merge that into that, because we always try to say that any exhibition is not a kind of outcome of research, but it's a research process, and then it could be different venues. At the same time, we pointed it out as a residency, so it is not kind of the reason to not select someone, if that is the case. But I like this question or proposal. But what about the other ones that is also production related, Maurice?
To be honest, considering the time frame, we haven't dared to dream of going bigger in any direction. So it is not by all means mandatory. Yeah, we
At this stage, as I said, that we are experimenting. So I can see from my perspective that we haven't developed a proper online exhibition formats. This is something I'm always kind of trying to get the museum its hand on. And as we just launched our new web page, so I'm secretly trying to kind of get the team to think about at least also this kind of online exhibition. But as we don't have our own format, and we have not necessarily affiliated, let's say, with Google Arts, it is also something we are going to discuss. But it would be hugely relevant, given that also the residency is international, like how the international audience who is not attending on site would get some kind of follow-up. So this is something I just remark without us having been agreed on this yet, but we're moving towards that. The digital innovation itself is really important to us at the moment. We are in this framework, not just services, but just this kind of creative development as well. And international exhibitions at the moment, I think Maurice said we haven't planned it right now. So.
extra.
Let's give ourselves.
Okay, Daniel, you're up next. Wait, did I allow? I think I allowed the mic for you.
Oh, but your mic is closed.
Oh yeah, you're on mute.
You're on mute. It seems you are muted yourself right now. What will the signal?
Maybe they have not.
You are probably self-muted. No?
Wait,
But you could also write a chat if it.
I'm going to try again. Okay, now I allow the microphone once again.
Something's shifted at the screen.
Well, this is weird. Okay, quickly, one question that came into the chat was, should the portfolio, CV and more be sent in English, or is Estonian allowed? We'd like all of the materials to be sent in English, but to allow for commensurability between the applicants for that very same reason. The second question, maybe Maris or Pilla can help me with this, is what kind of portfolios do you expect? What skills do you want us to show you?
Maris, you
Everything you have.
everything.
Like honestly, I cannot imagine of any type of information we are not interested in hearing before making a decision. honestly.
Because I think that we are kind of inevitably looking. Look, it is not like a word application, so we are looking into this concept and the potential of that, and we are looking kind of that we have to form a trustworthy team, so that the people have some kind of experience to survive these months, hectic months of experimentation. Yes, because I think it was also in the call that the museum is a huge machinery, and unlike the artistic residencies which are established to this format, we're trying to merge. So the museum has previous experiences, for example, with film residencies, but nothing that long. So we are trying to find a good fit, which means that any kind of information might be relevant. At the same time, we will have, there are already huge, quite a number of applications, which means that the regular how to push through the noise, not to stay in the chamber, is also relevant. We're thinking of doing it two steps, that one of the, we will firstly look into one round and then have in-depth conversations about kind of the finalists, the shortlisted applications. That's the process.
Okay, Monica, I'm gonna allow you to now see if you can.
Get your voice.
Yeah, wait a sec. Okay, now it should work.
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm Monica and I moved to Tartu in August. My question is, are there any strong themes, or like what's the strongest theme in the archive versus like maybe the most overlooked theme?
I think that the strongest, I'm not a photo specialist, by the way, but the strongest theme is, as Daniel pointed out in the introduction, that as the museum is kind of a museum of everyday life through ethnography and everyday, so we don't have we don't have let's say arts photography in our archive. It is mostly some kind of documentary, and this is why I also pointed out that we shouldn't approach it necessarily through documentary, but artistically also. But at large, it is everyday life, both private life and public life, and of course there are the sets of beloved photographers from the past. But photography as art is missing from us due to this format of the museum itself.
Mhm.
At least
And
some
the most-
insight.
And the most overlooked?
And the most
maybe-
overlooked, I think that here is actually, in my mindset, is that I can say what is overlooked in terms of, we're nowadays saying that we are discovering this kind of marginalized parts and blanks and missing parts, and this is actually a part of research. I think that as the museum identified itself as very ethnographic, that we have maybe less worked with this kind of Soviet photographers who are coming in, as said, so we are hardly able to digitize them, and we haven't done any exhibitions of them. We haven't done enough photographic exhibitions anyway, so we might say that in terms of exhibitions, they are all over. They have been part of other exhibitions, and there are some. There is a publication series which is kind of photographer based, and this is again more about early 20th century. So in parallel to this curatorial process, we also kind of are pushing further this series of publications, not that which are kind of parallel, not linked to it. So 20th century content has been mostly coming in, and now only slowly people who are actually studying the everyday life of 20th century and Soviet time, they are looking at it as kind of one of the sources, but not necessarily in terms of studying photography from that time. So this is a field of opportunities. This is why we're doing this residency, that it is understudied and kind of very much existing huge resource in terms of Estonian archives.
Daniel, I think you can try again now. I hope it works.
Hi, do you hear me now?
Yes, fantastic.
All right. I might have missed one question. Thank you very much. I just brought a different device. So my name is Daniel Antal. I'm calling now from Budapest, and I visited your museum. I was very fascinated. Went to a guided tour, and that gave me an idea, which basically gives me two questions. So I realized that the early part of the photographic collection often came together with exchanges through various networks of learned societies, phenographists, ethnographers, which intrigued me, and I was tracing a few objects. And I have two questions, one practical, one more for research. Would it be allowed in this exhibition to have on loan related items from that might be connected somehow to how your collection came about? Is one practical question, and a more theoretical, if there's any publication available in any language, including Estonian, about the early creation of your collection.
Starting with a collection, no, we have studies about the history of the museum in general. But as I said, that photography has been largely overlooked. So there would be a few publications like the series about where are at least two collections about Johannes Pääsuk, and it's because he was one of the he's widely known. At some point we were joking even that we should kind of eliminate him from the exhibition, but he was the kind of about whom we have been writing some articles, and this is in Estonian. I think it's print only, of course, unfortunately, or digitized from National Library. But in this case, he started with the glass negatives, and it was a short period. So kind of this period has been studied. But altogether, I think that Estonian photo history has been mostly covered outside this museum. It has not been the topic. The Estonian National Museum was actually a little bit more during the Soviet time focused on film, because it was quite unusual, the ethnographic film. So there are even more articles about ethnographic film than about photography. And about the object, this is a kind of a point of discussion, because we don't imagine it necessarily as a kind of exhibition on the walls. And then the question is whether it's what kind of interpretation it is, like if it's new objects or old object. My personal kind of managerial take is that if it would involve museum objects, the time frame is so short that probably our own conservation department would just not be able to handle that. It would be much easier to think of it whether we can do it on the exhibition space. But this one step with kind of necessary step with the museum artifacts, this is the tricky one. Otherwise, kind of whether the format can be newly created things or installations, I think that is not so restricted. If we say that it's a study of archive, it doesn't say that it has to be two-dimensional. So only challenge is this kind of historical objects which has to go through a different pathway through the museum traditionally. So that's part. And we don't have anyone from this collections department sitting with us. So I just take the liberty to guess what they would say just most likely. But did I cover both of the questions somewhat? Yes. With history, photographic history, not so well, the exhibition will fill the blank and activate these kind of results for the future. And yeah, I think I somewhat managed to answer, right?
How do you feel, Daniel?
Well, no, so I actually, of course, I mean, traveling museum objects is, of course, requires a lot of logistics, but like archival photographs can be loaned from related archives probably more easily. But I think I got the impression that I understand.
Oh yeah, it was also archive photos elsewhere. Yeah, well, while the dimension or the focus is primarily our archive, I can imagine that to small extent this dialogue is possible. Again, it is still a kind of in terms of production, it is one more layer. So all these deposits and so on. But I think that within our today's quick call, it is kind of let's not go in depth. It's like it is rather the value is kind of pointing out the interest so that we notice them right now. What is
Definitely depending on the scale, but yes, we would much prefer that main focus would be on our collections and archives, but not ruling it out 100%.
Okay, we have a couple of questions in chat. We get to those also, but before that, Anna Katarina, I think you can use your microphone now. I hope so, at least. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Elizabeth, you can also try. Bring forward your question. You can finish.
I think it works.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm from Tallinn. And I got 2 questions. One is more about the research period. I was wondering if there's gonna be some regular checkups with both the museum or with the residents during that time, or is that just individual and then you will be collaborating during the co-creation periods?
I think we will, well, the short answer is yes, there will be. Probably we will get it like agreed and fixed after the residents have been chosen. And we will ask, what would you prefer? What's the frequency? What would help you, etc. But basically, yes, the exhibition will have team meetings. Yes.
I can also add that I think yesterday proposed that this residents we should also have kind of active online channel anyway. Not in terms of getting answers like private messengers in 5 minutes, but this kind of ongoing that in any international projects I mean it usually has to have this kind of channel that you kind of feel that it is just one step away. And of course the museum won't be there permanently, but this is just one of the aspects because I think that the team meetings are kind of more productive and relevant. But this kind of low frequency contact should be there as well. So we are trying to bring in as many steps as possible. Otherwise, we also couldn't say that we are the partners here. Otherwise, it becomes more of the commissioned work. But we want this residency to work out as collaboration. So what are the ways to achieve that? And this was one question, right?
Yeah. Thank you. The other question was that I saw now on this last slide that there's going to be an architect and a designer for the exhibition. So I was wondering if the residents only do the selection of the photos and the narrative, or is curating the exhibition part of the residency?
I think also architect was.
I think having the best results in mind, this should be cooperation between the designer, architect, and the resident. He and she will more than willing to listen to your ideas or proposals, but like the end responsibility that we would have something in that room also lies with this architectural team. If I now answered your question.
At least I understood. I wanted to also add that perhaps think of it as kind of, no, you are not just giving your kind of contents, but what is different with maybe arts museums and our museum is that I think that we would describe it from the museum side as kind of this production or producer oriented, that we don't apply a curator on top of you. So which means that you have to be also in direct contact with a designer or the architect. Otherwise, it would be this kind of curator who just curates your contents, and then traditionally this curator would be doing this work. But I think that this is why we are primarily kind of production and also not kind of thinking along, but not giving kind of extra power in this sense to some outside curator you will meet only. We have had, when I mentioned it, we have had discussions and realizing how, let's say, art museums and art venues sometimes operate differently. And if it was a kind of lead curator and based format, we would have also announced it differently. So it is you are a little bit curators in this process as well, and we are mostly producers, and we try to think along curatorially, but it doesn't have this kind of mandate or super power of some curatorial vision on top of all the hard work you are going to do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, before we go to the chat, Anna Katarina, your hand is still raised. Do you want to ask a question? Okay, and then we have the pencil. Would you like to ask a question? Your hand is also raised. You can activate your microphone if you wish.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I am willing to ask about, since we are talking about archives, we are also talking about histories and memories. So I actually deal with archives and memories. So I wanted to ask, is the museum looking for photographers and editors, or they are looking for artists who merge these archives to tell a story, to combine them and also share it to the public to understand that maybe in the 1990s to 2026, there was this particular journey of a life story that came up. So I wanted to know if the museum is willing to allow artists to express with themselves with their methodology based on the archives or the research they will do at the museum. Thank you.
Not very well.
We couldn't understand very well. I think the mic was.
It's the
Strange sound, like
So you are working with archive and memories. This is what I get, and then it got into. I think it's the bandwidth issue with your voice became, or the sound became very raw.
Okay, so can I come back again? Like,
Now it's quite
By the
clear.
way, now it was better.
okay,
let's try.
hope my microphone is okay now.
Yes, it's better. Let's try it as a book.
Okay, so I was asking, is the museum willing to allow artists to use their methodologies based on the archives? Because when we are talking about archives, we are also talking about memories, histories, and memories and histories will never stop coming. So is the museum willing to allow artists who can merge some of the archives to tell a story and to be able to express themselves and also combine some of the histories of the museum and then the kind of archives, the fragmented archives they've stored? So is the museum willing to allow artists to do that? Or maybe they are looking for a print artist and all of that to just take pictures of the old archives and then merge them? Or how is the museum willing to allow artists to use the archives?
So you're referring to the physical archives in a sense, if I get you right, that archive as an offline entity, not archive as documents. Is it right that you want to, you ask whether you can take photos of the physical archive and other collections. I guess that it is possible. Our of course it is our archives and collections are accessible kind of through mediation only, but we have with some other residencies allowed people that it is not just about bringing the object out. So in some circumstances they can get also access. So I wouldn't say that it's forbidden. It's an opportunity. And especially if it's part of this concept you have, I haven't read even if you have applied. So the short answer is probably yes. Although in my kind of presentation, I said that the digital aspect is also very important. But if it's not the focus of what you are exploring, it's not kind of forbidden. We don't say that, oh, we want you to understand and interpret the digital only. Because the kind of online and offline and they relate to memory really in different ways. That's also something you're probably saying. And I agree with this kind of approach. So not very clear answer, but to say that yes, if it's like on-site residency, we do everything we can to get access to give some additional access.
And just to reiterate, if you do not get a satisfactory answer to your question right now, just send us an email and we'll do our best answer.
Exactly, because we might lose some parts of it. It is as we are not seeing people, even if the cameras were on, it's still the tiny little square. So it's communication only, radio connection only.
Okay. So quickly, let's go through a few questions that came into the chat.
Exactly.
So Lola Annabelle asked that I understand that the decision about who you will be working with will be announced at the end of May. Will you be contacting the selected candidates before the final decision is made? If so, when is this likely to happen? Is it the beginning of May?
Like, is it about shortlisted candidates? We haven't discussed it, but one option, I'm thinking aloud. I'm thinking aloud that I see like with many competitions, it makes really sense to at least give a signal that there is a short list and you are in the short list. I'm not sure we can give any more information because in this case it wouldn't be a final decision. We can but short list makes sense, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, just actually probably now understand is that since it is a new experiment for us as well, there are a lot of applicants. We do not know. We gave ourselves 2 months for the adjudication process and selection process. It might be the case that we manage in a shorter amount of time that we projected. It might be the case that it goes up until the 28th of May, and we're going to have to take every second that we have for this. So unfortunately, I don't think we can give a more detailed answer here. But the point remains, if we do the selection process faster than anticipated, then obviously we will inform individuals beforehand. And I think the question implicitly there was, will you inform the selected candidates before you announce them to the public? And the answer is obviously yes. So if we do end up selecting you, and then we will contact you, and if you are like, oh, I don't want to do this, then we'll obviously not announce you, right? So we'll do that beforehand. You won't find it through a Facebook post.
That's for sure as well. But I took the note about possible shortlisted step if it's possible.
Yes. There's the second question from Inga Weikler is, are you more interested in various open methodologies related to the archive, or are proposals focused on a specific subject or topic within the archival images also welcome?
My take is that with this exhibition, we kind of want to activate the archive. And we had some collaboration before announcing this, and we realized that the kind of our collaboration partner dwelled into the topics, and actually this was this was not activating the archive. In this case, it should be an exhibition around the topic. But as this question is very abstract, I would say that both approaches are eligible because maybe you propose a really interesting insight and that works. So it is not to say that we reject kind of topic-based approach. Even in these examples we brought, we said that there could be also this kind of ethnological or cultural anthropological approach among others, which would mean essentially that you have also something empirical from the daily life or cultural processes in mind, that this could be one of the angles. It's so despite kind of saying that please kind of embrace the archive, that it is completely legible to come and propose this kind of more specific topic.
Then Daniel had another follow-up question. Is it possible to visit the archive before the co-creation period for getting more familiar with your materials on site before the co-creation starts? Hard to give a definitive answer. The intuitive answer is obviously yes, that you can come because we have a set out budget for the travel and accommodation costs for the co-creation periods. But if you do wish to come out of your own volition and check things out, I'm pretty sure we can work things out. So you can do that if you do so wish. I hope that answers the question. And thirdly, another question, what is the expected number of applications? Hundreds?
Good guess.
Yeah, we don't know. In the hundreds is
it is 3 figures rather than 2. And
yes.
We're already at.
We're already at 3 figures approximately, but you apply everyone, please. So let me see, is there another question? The pencil, we got your question. I think we're gonna work this through and send this through an email. Or Pila, do you want to try and make this again? Okay, we'll give you a text-based answer because it's quite a complex question.
Oh yeah, then it needs some thinking.
Yeah, we need to think
I
of
didn't
it.
read that, so I'll just say that.
Yeah.
To think.
Yeah, so we're gonna get back to this. And any questions we left unanswered, we will post along with the recording, so they will be in one place, so you can work through them all. Are there any other questions from anyone? Yes, if you have already submitted and wish to edit, the form has the setting allowed that you can edit your submission or your application. So that is totally fine if you do it until the end of the application period.
After that, it's locked.
Yes.
Until then, it's and we are maybe starting to look into some of the applications before. So please also keep that in mind. But it's possible to change it. Right now, we are not reading them yet, so.
Any other questions? If not, then I urge everyone to work through the materials that we also sent through the chat. We will aggregate there. Could you please return to the portfolio and the, sorry. So the same question, what type, let me go to the original question. Just give me a second. So I assume you mean what kind of portfolios we expect? Is that the question, Anna? what was the answer that we gave for the portfolios and what we expect from those?
I gave a long and not very clear answer, saying that what we're looking for is kind of the concept of the existing project we are applying for. And we're looking very much into kind of how the people are able to collaborate and how experienced we are. We are, for example, not looking to particular artistic styles in depth. So that's why it's that anything you think relevant. And I also say that likely kind of the quantity doesn't beat quality, because we are going to work with a huge amount of material. So if someone has a very long artistic career, for example, we are just not able to go through it. And we have a background of different people deciding. So portfolio in terms of all the previous work is not so relevant in terms of quantity. But something which would connect you to this topic best is something we will likely look.
Okay. The answer was satisfactory.
But I'm thinking aloud first, and so yes.
So yeah, any more questions? One last chance. And if not, and if you want to ask them later, and if you're still formulating your question, it's totally fine to send them to the email residency@erm.ee. We will get back to you as fast as possible. But other than that, okay. Okay, we got one question, but it's hard. Is the museum looking for the blurry archives that have been almost been forgotten to be reconstructed or rebuilding with artist methodology? I think we wouldn't say that the archives have been forgotten, also that they need to be reconstructed. It is more about investigating the archive and the systems behind it.
Activating the current one, which means that it will reveal blanks. But blurry archives or arc world as an archive is not topic of this residency, so this kind of blurry. But the topic, of course, that archive is dynamic and incomplete, and this run through our understanding very much kind of this archives and static depositories, as I said, have been contested a long time ago, but there are different ways to further challenge them. But we kind of want to activate our photographic archive in particular for that purpose. If this answers somewhat.
It seems it was satisfactory. Anyway, thank you all. Go through the materials once more, and if you have any questions, send it to us. We will keep you all up to date with any relevant changes if they do happen. Probably not. Everything seems to be in order and seems to be working. And we look forward to reading all your applications, and thank you for being on this exciting project with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming to the call. Yes.
All the best to all of you.